The arrival of the Empire. The night sky above Earth had always been calm, filled with stars that seemed far away. But on this night the stars moved, they shifted and grew larger. People across the world looked up and saw golden shapes entering the atmosphere. They were not meteors. They were ships, massive and glowing like floating castles in the heavens. The Galactic Empire had arrived, their fleet shining with banners of authority, their weapons pointed down like spears of fire. Across every city alarms rang. Military bases came alive. Civilians ran to screens and windows, watching the sky darken with shadows of ships. Humanity had waited for this moment, but no one had truly believed it would happen so soon. In the capital city, leaders of nations gathered in a single hall. Screens showed images of alien ships hovering silently, their size beyond anything humans had ever built. Whispers filled the chamber. Some spoke of surrender, some spoke of war, but most were silent, waiting to see what these visitors wanted. Then the signal came. A voice echoed from the sky itself. Deep, commanding, filled with arrogance, people of Earth. You now face the Galactic Empire. Kneel and obey, for you are nothing compared to our might. The translation reached every ear, every device, every corner of the planet. The words were meant to bring fear, to break human will before a single shot was fired. But instead of silence, something strange happened in one command center. A young officer let out a laugh. It echoed across the room. Others tried to hold it in, but soon they too were laughing. It was not fear, it was disbelief. The Empire's words sounded too dramatic, too theatrical, too full of pride. The more they spoke, the funnier it sounded to human ears. On the alien flagship, the Emperor stood tall, his armor polished, his crown gleaming. He expected cries, panic, maybe even instant surrender. But instead his translators reported laughter. Confused, he repeated his threats louder and harsher, yet the sound from Earth only grew stronger. The humans were laughing again. The Emperor narrowed his eyes. Do they mock us? Do they not understand who we are? His generals bowed in fear. None dared answer. For to question the Emperor's authority was dangerous. But the truth was simple. Humans did understand. They understood too well, and that was why they laughed. In the great hall of Earth's leaders, the laughter spread like fire. A general leaned to his president and whispered, "They think they scare us with words, but they sound like a bad play." The president almost smiled, tension turning into something lighter. The weight of fear slowly replaced with courage. All across the planet, people watched the alien broadcast. Some were afraid, but many laughed. Children pointed at the Emperor's heavy armor and compared him to old cartoon villains. Comedians on live streams began to imitate his voice. Jokes spread faster than warnings. Within hours, the internet was full of memes, mocking the so-called rulers of the stars. The Emperor's pride burned. He sent another message. Earth, you will bow, or you will burn. His voice shook with rage, but his words were met with more laughter. He could not understand why, in all his conquests across the galaxy, no world had ever dared laugh at him. Fear was always the first reaction, but humanity was different. In one underground base, a scientist explained it best. They came with fear, but fear cannot control us if we refuse it. Laughter is our weapon, and it is sharper than their blades. The soldiers around her nodded. Their spirits rising, they no longer looked at the Empire as gods. They looked at them as fools. The first encounter had not ended with surrender. It had not ended with war. It had ended with laughter. A sound so strange to the Empire, but so natural to humanity. The galaxy had sent its might, and Earth had answered with something unexpected, something powerful. As the golden ships hovered above, silent and proud, humanity stood united beneath them, not with bowed heads but with smiles. The Emperor believed the joke was on Earth, but in truth, the joke was already on him, and this was only the beginning. The Empire's demands the morning after the ships arrived. The world did not wake in silence. It woke to the same shadow of golden warships hanging in the sky. Their glowing lights spread across oceans and mountains. Blocking out the sun, the Galactic Empire had not moved. They were waiting for humanity to obey. In the great chamber of the United Nations, every leader sat in tense silence, their eyes fixed on a massive screen. The Emperor of the Galactic Empire appeared again, his armor shining, his eyes cold and proud. His voice thundered through translation devices. People of Earth, your laughter will end today. You will kneel before me. You will bring tribute, and you will serve the Empire as slaves. His list of demands echoed like iron chains. He wanted the oceans of Earth's water, He wanted half of Earth's resources every year. He wanted thousands of humans delivered to his ships as tribute, workers, entertainers, and even soldiers for his wars. And he wanted humanity to erase its governments and replace them with imperial governors. The hall fell into silence. Many leaders clenched their fists. Others lowered their heads in anger. But before anyone could respond, the translator made a small mistake. Instead of saying, tribute of humans, it came out as humans of potatoes. The error was tiny, but it was enough. The room erupted in laughter again. The serious threat turned into comedy in an instant. On the flagship, the Emperor's face twisted in rage. Why do they laugh again? What is wrong with this species? His generals tried to explain the error, but it only made him more furious. He could not believe that in the face of his mighty empire, these humans dared to laugh, dared to mock. A human general stood and faced the screen, his voice steady. We do not kneel, we do not serve. If you want our water, you can drink from our rivers yourself. If you want our people, you can try to take them. But you will not find slaves here. The words were met with cheers in the chamber, the courage spreading like wildfire. The Emperor leaned closer to the camera, his sharp teeth glinting. You dare refuse me, you are insects. I have crushed worlds older and stronger than yours. And yet you mock me with laughter. His voice shook the speakers, but the human general only smiled and replied, then maybe you should find better jokes. The reaction across Earth was unstoppable. Millions tuned in to watch. Instead of trembling, they laughed again. The internet filled with parodies of the Emperor's speech, videos of farmers offering him buckets of potatoes, children dressing up as alien emperors with fake crowns. Comedy became a weapon, and the Empire did not understand it. In secret bases, however, humanity was not only laughing, they were preparing. Armies moved in silence, weapons powered up, fleets hidden in deep space activated. Scientists worked on signals to block alien communications. Laughter was the surface, but underneath, humanity's resolve was harder than steel. The Emperor, blinded by rage, declared, "You will regret this mockery. Your planet will burn, your skies will fall, your laughter will turn into screams." His final warning shook the broadcast, but humans only leaned back and clapped. The Emperor stormed off screen, leaving his generals staring nervously. In that moment, something powerful changed. Fear was gone. Humans had faced the demands of a galactic tyrant and answered not with surrender, not with silence, but with humor and defiance. The Empire had expected obedience, but they had awakened something they did not understand. The joke was still on the Empire, and humanity was just getting started. The laughter that echoed the Empire believed fear was universal. They thought every world would tremble when their ships appeared, but Earth was different instead of silence. The Emperor's threats echoed back with laughter, and that laughter grew louder with every broadcast. Across the globe, people began to gather in streets. Parks and stadiums, giant screens replayed the Emperor's angry speeches, but no one cried. No one ran. Instead, they clapped and whistled as if watching a comedy show. Children made drawings of the Emperor with long noses and silly crowns. Old men sat outside tea shops laughing at his tone. Humanity had turned fear into a festival on the flagship. Confusion spread among the imperial officers. They were used to fear, used to begging and kneeling. Never in history had they seen laughter as a response to power. "It is a defense mechanism," one alien commander suggested. "They are afraid but hide it with jokes," another whispered. No, they are insane, but none of them truly understood. The Emperor raged inside his throne chamber, smashing golden cups and roaring at his generals. How dare they? How dare they mock me? His crown tilted as he struck the table. The silence that followed was filled with fear. No one dared to laugh at him inside the ship, but the sound from Earth still echoed through the speakers, haunting him. In a small town on Earth, a farmer stood in front of his camera. He wore a crown made of cardboard and shouted in a silly voice, "Bow before me, bring me your potatoes." The video went viral in minutes, reaching billions. The Empire's greatest demand had become the greatest joke. Humanity was united not by fear but by laughter. In schools, teachers used the Emperor's speeches as lessons, asking children to write jokes about them. In markets, sellers named their products after the Emperor's titles. Buy the Emperor's onions, taste the galactic bread. Laughter became an armor, stronger than walls or weapons. Inside hidden military bases, however, leaders did not mistake humor for weakness. They knew war was close. Fleets were on standby, defenses armed, but they also knew the laughter gave them an advantage. It broke fear. It gave people courage, No empire could rule a world that refused to fear them. The emperor tried again, sending holograms directly into Earth's cities. Towering above buildings, he roared, "I am the eternal flame of the stars, the unbroken hand, the emperor of 10,000 worlds." But the crowds below simply cheered as if he were a clown at a parade. People threw paper crowns into the air, chanting Emperor Potato, until the hologram faded in humiliation. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Other alien races watched in secret. They had once been slaves of the Empire, their own worlds conquered with blood. But now they saw something different, a species that laughed in the face of fear, and for the first time in centuries, they too began to smile. A historian on Earth summed it best. The Empire came with fire, but laughter drowned the flames. They came with pride, but jokes broke their crowns. They came with fear, but found only joy. His words spread through news networks, becoming a banner of resistance on the flagship. The Emperor stood on his balcony, staring down at the blue planet below. "They think this is a game, but soon their laughter will end," he growled. Yet even as he said it, he feared the sound. For laughter could not be stopped by weapons. It lived in every human heart. The Empire had power, but humanity had something greater, a spirit that could not be chained. And as laughter echoed across every city, the Empire realized they were no longer in control. The galaxy itself was starting to laugh with Earth. The joke that began in fear was now shaking the stars, and the Empire had no answer. The first clash, the Emperor's patience broke. No more speeches, no more warnings. The laughter of humanity was louder than any cannon to his pride. He raised his hand and ordered his fleet to strike. Golden ships lowered through the clouds, their weapons glowing like suns. The first clash between Earth and the Empire had begun. Over the Pacific Ocean, 3 warships descended. Their beams of energy aimed at the waters. The Empire planned to boil oceans, flood coasts, and crush morale. But as they fired, something unexpected happened. The beams scattered in midair, exploding in flashes before touching the waves Earth had prepared. Hidden satellites above the planet released shields of strange energy, inventions that the Empire did not know humans had. In command centers underground, scientists and generals watched the screens with sharp eyes. "Phase 1 successful, shields holding," a scientist whispered. Soldiers cheered quietly. They knew this was only the start, but their hearts beat with courage. The Empire's ships adjusted, launching drones shaped like silver insects. Swarms filled the sky, moving fast. Their mission was to strike cities, burn homes, and cause chaos, but before they could reach, human jets roared upward faster than sound, painted with strange black metal. They carried weapons never seen before, energy cannons created from years of secret research. The first swarm clashed with the jets above Asia. The drones fired beams, but the jets cut through them. One by one, explosions lit the night. People on the ground pointed and cheered. It looked like fireworks. Laughter returned, stronger than before on the flagship. The Emperor's generals panicked. "Their technology is advanced. Far more than reports suggested," one said. "They should not have this power," another added. But the Emperor silenced them, his eyes burning. "They tricked us. Their laughter was a mask, but I will break it." In Europe, a massive golden cruiser descended. Its cannons aimed at a city, but before it could fire, missiles hidden deep inside the mountains launched into the sky. They were not ordinary missiles. They split into dozens of smaller darts, striking the cruiser's shields again and again. The ship trembled, and then, with a great flash, it fell into the sea. The explosion shook the waters. Humans on the coast cheered, waving flags. The Empire had never faced such resistance. Worlds before Earth had surrendered in days. But this planet fought back with courage and cleverness. They laughed, but they also fought. The combination was terrifying. In Africa, children stood on rooftops pointing at the sky. "The aliens are falling!" they shouted with joy. Soldiers on the ground raised their rifles, joining the laughter because every drone destroyed, every ship brought down, was proof that humanity was not prey. Humanity was a hunter too. The Emperor's anger grew heavier. "They dare fight my fleet. They dare humiliate me," he shouted, smashing his throne. His generals whispered that perhaps Earth was too dangerous, but none dared speak too loudly. The Emperor's pride blinded him. Back on Earth, leaders gathered in secret halls, their faces serious but their hearts burning with hope. "We must keep this spirit," one leader said. "Laughter keeps fear away, but strength keeps the enemy away too," another added. They knew this battle was far from over. But humanity had proven one truth. They could stand against the Empire. The first clash did not end with Earth burning. It ended with the Empire retreating for the night, their ships hidden behind clouds, their drones destroyed, their pride shattered across the planet. People celebrated not in silence, but in song, dance, and endless laughter. From the highest towers to the poorest streets, humanity shouted into the night sky. "We are not afraid," their voices carried across oceans, across mountains, across every corner of the earth, and perhaps even beyond. The Empire had come with power, but power had failed, and now the galaxy was watching a young species who fought with courage and laughed in the face of fear. The first clash was over, but the war had only begun. The human trick, the Empire thought humanity was reckless. They thought laughter was a sign of madness, but behind the humor there was a secret. The laughter was not only defiance, it was a weapon, a mask, a signal to hide what humanity was really preparing. In hidden bunkers under mountains, scientists and engineers worked day and night. Long before the Empire had arrived, Earth had discovered faint signals traveling across space, whispers of the Empire's movements. Leaders had kept this knowledge secret. They knew one day the galaxy would come, and when it did, Earth had to be ready. The laughter was never random, it was chosen. When humans laughed at the Emperor's speeches, it was to show the world that fear could be broken, but it was also a distraction. While the Empire obsessed over the sound of mockery, humanity moved fleets into position, activated hidden satellites, and deployed weapons disguised as simple communication towers. A general stood in front of his council, pointing at a screen. "While they think us fools, we are building nets in the sky," he said. "The Empire believes their technology is unmatched, but our traps are ready." The council nodded, their faces serious, their voices steady. But outside those walls, the people laughed louder, and that laughter kept the Empire blind. The Emperor paced in his golden chamber, his crown heavy on his head. "They laugh because they are weak," he growled. "But weakness cannot stand forever." His generals bowed, none daring to mention the truth, none daring to tell him that the humans were preparing something he could not imagine. In the deserts of Earth, hidden beneath the sands, long-range cannons powered up. Disguised as broken ruins for years, now they rose like giants, firing beams of light that cut through the skies, striking drones before they reached cities. The Empire was shocked, wondering how a young species could build weapons so advanced. But the truth was that humans had always been clever. They used every mistake of the Empire, every arrogance, every blind spot. The Emperor had announced his arrival with speeches instead of surprise, and humanity had used that time to awaken its defenses, to set the stage for the greatest trick in history. Across the internet, laughter was endless. But inside the military channels, coded messages traveled, hidden inside jokes and memes. What looked like humor to the Empire was actually a network of signals, each laugh marking coordinates, each parody spreading coded timing. Humanity had turned jokes into strategy. A young programmer smiled as she explained to her commander, "They monitor our communications, but they cannot stop laughter. They cannot filter jokes. So we hide our orders inside them." Her commander nodded. "Let them think we are fools. It makes our strength invisible." The Emperor grew restless. Each time his ships advanced, humanity was ready. Each time he tried a new tactic, humans laughed louder, as if they already knew what was coming. Paranoia crept into his heart. "They mock me because they think they are clever," he whispered to himself. "But I will crush their tricks with fire." Yet even as he spoke, another trap was closing in orbit above Earth. Small satellites drifted quietly, disguised as space junk, but at the right signal they came alive, linking together into a massive shield net. When Imperial cannons fired again, the beams scattered into nothing. The shield shimmered, and laughter rose from Earth like thunder. For the first time, the Emperor realized the danger. It was not the weapons, it was not the fleets, it was the human mind. They were unpredictable, they were creative. They turned fear into jokes, jokes into signals, signals into weapons, and weapons into victories. On Earth, leaders smiled behind closed doors. "They think we are laughing at them," one president said. "But the truth is we are laughing because we already know how to win." The human trick was revealed, not to the Empire but to themselves. Humanity had learned that their greatest strength was not power alone, but the ability to turn the impossible into something simple, to turn terror into comedy, to turn weakness into strategy. The Empire had come to break a world, But instead the world was breaking the Empire's pride. The joke was no longer just a joke. It was a weapon sharper than any blade, and the galaxy was beginning to understand. The Empire's collapse. The Emperor stood at the heart of his throne room, his hands clenched, his crown slipping slightly from the weight of his anger. The galaxy had always bent before him, but now whispers filled the stars. Whispers of earth, whispers of laughter. Whispers that grew into rebellion. On distant worlds once ruled by fear, slaves looked to the sky and smiled. News of humanity's defiance traveled faster than imperial ships. Smugglers carried recordings of Earth's laughter. Traders told tales of golden warships mocked by farmers. Miners deep in asteroid belts repeated the story of a species that did not bow. And soon the Empire's greatest weapon, fear, began to fade. Inside the Imperial Council, unrest spread. Governors argued with generals. "This war is dragging us into shame," one said. "The humans make us look weak," another whispered. But the Emperor slammed his fist on the table. Weak is them, not us. They are clowns." Yet even his generals no longer believed him. They had seen the battles, seen the retreats, seen the laughter. On Earth, people celebrated victories not with silence, but with parades. Musicians wrote songs mocking the Empire. Artists painted the Emperor as a fool with oversized boots. Children drew him as a cartoon villain with floppy arms. Every corner of humanity found a way to laugh, and the Empire's grip grew weaker. Across the galaxy, alien races who once obeyed the Emperor's rule began to question. "If humans can resist, why not us?" asked a merchant guild. "If Earth laughs at the Empire, why do we still cry?" said a council of elders on a distant moon. Sparks of rebellion lit fires that the Emperor could not extinguish. The Emperor sent more fleets, but each one returned damaged, humiliated, or destroyed. Every failure was another story, another joke, another reason for the galaxy to laugh. Laughter spread like a plague the Empire could not cure. In the markets of alien worlds, traders sold masks shaped like human faces. They sold recordings of human jokes. They sold banners that read, "We are not afraid." The Empire tried to ban them, but for every banner burned, 10 more appeared. The Emperor's commands were ignored in silence. His threats met with smirks. Inside his golden palace, the Emperor raged at his mirrors, smashing them one by one. "I am the eternal flame. I am the ruler of 10,000 worlds," he shouted, but his voice echoed hollow. Even he could hear the weakness on Earth. Leaders met again in their hidden halls. They knew the Empire was bleeding from within. "They collapsed not because of our guns," one leader said, "but because we broke their pride," another answered. "They cannot survive in a galaxy that laughs at them." Humanity understood that the war was no longer only on battlefields. It was in hearts and minds across the stars. The Emperor ordered his council to silence the rebels, but his governors refused. They feared their own people more than him. One governor even laughed in his presence. The sound cut through the throne room like a blade. The Emperor killed him on the spot, but the damage was done. Laughter had entered the palace. In the shadows of the Empire's core worlds, secret groups began to rise, painting human slogans on walls, broadcasting human laughter through hidden channels. The Empire's own citizens no longer trembled. They began to question, and questions were poison to tyranny. The Emperor called for his fleets again, but fewer ships responded. Commanders delayed, soldiers deserted. Many had seen Earth with their own eyes. They had seen humans smiling under fire. They had felt shame when their mighty ships fell, and they no longer wanted to die for an empire that could be mocked by children. The collapse was not a single explosion. It was a slow cracking of stone, pride breaking piece by piece. Loyalty turning into doubt, fear turning into rebellion. The Emperor still stood tall in his golden hall, but outside the galaxy no longer listened. Humanity had done the impossible. Without ruling anyone, without demanding obedience, they had broken the greatest empire in the stars with nothing but courage, humor, and unity. The Empire was still alive, but its heart was gone, and the sound that replaced it was louder than any cannon, the sound of laughter echoing across a galaxy. The joke that changed the galaxy. The empire that once ruled 10,000 worlds now stood in silence. Its fleets scattered, its governors fearful, its emperor locked away in his golden palace. The sound of fear that had once spread across the stars was gone, and in its place came something new, something powerful, the sound of laughter on Earth. People filled the streets with joy. Fireworks burst into the sky. Children carried cardboard crowns and plastic swords. Singers stood on rooftops and shouted songs that mocked the emperor. Humanity had faced the greatest power in the galaxy, And instead of breaking, they had laughed until the Empire broke first. News spread like a storm through the stars. Traders carried stories of Earth to far-off systems. Smugglers whispered about the humans who turned threats into jokes. Miners deep in asteroid tunnels replayed recordings of Earth's defiance. Every world once bent under imperial rule now had a new story to tell. The story of laughter that toppled an empire. In the shadows of the Emperor's throne world, even his own citizens began to smile in secret. Painted on walls were human slogans. "We are not afraid," whispered in alleys were human jokes. Soldiers once loyal to the Emperor smirked at his speeches, knowing they had lost their power. Laughter had become rebellion, and rebellion had become unstoppable. The Emperor sat on his throne, crown heavy, pride cracked. He replayed the images of humans laughing, their faces fearless, their voices rising. No weapon he had could silence that sound. No fleet could destroy it. Laughter slipped through shields, through walls, through stars. It was a weapon he could not fight, and it was winning on Earth. Leaders gathered once more, their faces calm but proud. "We have done more than defend our world," one said. "We have given hope to the galaxy," another added. They knew humanity had become a symbol, a spark that would burn across systems not with fire but with courage. Alien races rose from silence, rebellions broke chains. Councils of slaves turned into councils of leaders. Planets once crushed by the Empire declared their freedom. And at the heart of every speech, every march, every act of defiance, there was laughter, the sound that had begun on Earth. A historian from a far-off world wrote, "The humans taught us that fear dies when we laugh at it. They showed us that no empire can rule a heart filled with joy. Their laughter was not weakness, it was strength." These words were carried across stars, written in books, etched into monuments. Generations later, children on alien worlds would ask,
"How did the Empire fall?" And the elders would smile and answer,
"It fell because of a joke, it fell because humanity laughed." Back on Earth, people looked up at the sky, no longer with fear but with pride. They knew the galaxy was forever changed, not because of the weapons they built, not because of the battles they fought, but because they had refused to give fear a home in small villages. Farmers laughed together in great cities. Crowds told jokes about the Emperor in quiet homes. Families smiled, knowing their children would grow without chains. Laughter had united them all, and it had reached the stars. The Empire did not end in fire, it ended in comedy. Its throne cracked not by cannons but by jokes. Its Emperor broken not by swords but by smiles the galaxy would never forget. Humanity had proven that courage could be born from humor, that unity could be forged in joy, and that even the mightiest tyrant could fall when faced with the simplest truth. The truth was this: laughter is freedom, and freedom is stronger than fear. So the story of Earth spread through time and stars. A legend passed from world to world, a legend of a young species who faced the Galactic Empire and did not cry, did not kneel, did not scream, but laughed. And the galaxy laughed with them forever.